Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to discuss about SMPP, SMPP Bind and Unbind Request Response in depth. So I will be discussing how bind requests need to send, how the unbind requests need to send, what is the response of those requests, and how to write a client application to send a bind and unbind request to the SMPP server. So these topics I will discuss in depth today with the SMPP PDU description. So before this, let's show you. I have so this is my channel. I have already uploaded another video related to SMPP. This is basically SMPP overview, which will show you how the SMPP client integrates with the SMPP server. This is an overall overview of the entire architecture. So how the SMPP works, how end-to-end SMS is sent to the mobile station. So I recommend you to check this video if you are a new buy, or if you need a detailed description of the SMPP total architecture, how it works, total system, how it works with SMSC, and how to send the bulk SMS. So better you check this video first, then jump to the next section. So let's start this video today. So this is SMPP bind and unbind request. So in my previous video I already showed you how the ESME and SMSC works. So the first step to work with the SMSC, you have to send a bind request to the SMSC. Then the bind request response you receive, if it is 200 okay, I mean if it is a bind successful, then you can send the submit SM, whatever other messages that SMPP can send receive. This you can send and receive. So this is the overall flow. So once your SMSs are sent and you want to close the connection, then you can send an unwind request and you will receive an unwind response. So these flow, the bind request and the unbind request, these are the beginning and the end of this flow. So today I am going to give you an description, overall in-depth description of bind and unbind request, how it works. So there are multiple kinds of bind requests you can send depending on the requirements. Like if you want a client which will only send SMSs but don't receive any kind of SMSs, those kind of ESME, you need different kind of bind request. I mean, uh, when you get a connection, when you get an ESME from the SMSC, they bill your SMS ESME based on the various kinds of your requirement. Like if you want to send and receive SMSs, this is different kind of billing. If you want to only send SMSs, this is different kind of billing. If you want to only receive those SMSs, this is different kind of billing. So based on that you have get the quotation from the SMSC. So this bind request controls all these things. So if your provider provides you an ESME client that can only bind with transmitter. So there are three kinds of bind request possible. One is bound TX, that is a bind transmitter, which can send only SMSs but don't receive anything. Another is bound RX, which is bind receiver. These can receive only SMSs. And another is bind transceiver. This transceiver can send and receive both kind of SMSs. So these are three different kind of ESMEs possible So while sending the bind request, you can define what kind of bind request you are doing with the SMPP server. So as so this is the flow ESME and SMSC. So SMSC basically it has one SMPP server that I have discussed in my previous video. So here ESME will send make a network connection first. It's a TCP connection. Once the TCP connection is established, over the TCP connection, it will send a bind transceiver request. So once the TCP connection is established, it can send various kind of bind request. It can be a bind receiver, bind transmitter, or bind transceiver request. It can send, and it can get the response. So how to build these messages, how to send these messages to SMPP server, I will show in next section. So this is how once the bind transceiver response is received, it can send and receive the SMSs, short messages over SMPP. So there is another kind of bind request possible, which is called outbind. Outbind means it's like this. Basically, the bind request is sent from by the client to the SMPP server, but here the SMPP server initiates a request to the ESME so that it can establish a bind receiver. So once the outbind request is received by the ESME initiates a bind receiver request to the SMPP server, and it connects over the it if the bind receiver is successful, after that it can receive the SMSs. So basically, this is another kind of bind request which is requested by the SMSC to the ESME just only for receiving the requests. So this is called another kind of bind request. You can say this is outbind request. So so now let's see, if you are an application developer and if you want to build an application which has an ESME client you want to build. This case you can have a how you will build this SMS client. So you have the PDU. PDU means the total message that you have to send to the SMPP server. How the message bind message looks like. So So as a application developer, how what you will do. So before going to discuss about all this video, let me show you a real example how these things works. So basically, this is one bind request. See if an ESME client, because these are IP based communication, so you can capture those requests and you can capture those requests in Wireshark, and you can filter those requests with SMPP protocol. So here you can see that it's just an example I am showing. Here you can see that a bind request is sent to client to server, and this bind transceiver is a bind transceiver request. So if you capture this request in Wireshark, it looks like this. So this is the complete video of a bind transceiver request. So this is what I am going to discuss in theory, how what are the very meaning of various parameters, various headers. So here you can see that the PDU first is the command length, which is 4 octets integer type. So 4 bytes it will capture, as an integer byte. So first parameter you have to mention the command length, then the command id. Command ID also 4 bytes integers. So here the value of this command ID is whether what kind of bind request you want to send. It's a bind receiver, transceiver, or a transmitter. So you will fill this data. You will fill these 4 bytes with the value of that kind of request. So this value is defined in the PDU. So I will show you in SMPP. So the first 4 bytes are 4 octets. So you can see that 4 bytes are reserved for the command length of the message. So these 4 bytes are reserved for length of the total length of the message. Then the operation, what kind of message it is. So here I am sending a transceiver request. So this is the value of the transceiver request. So if you put this value, these 4 bytes are reserved for operation type. So if I am sending a transceiver request, I have to fill this value with this. So this last 09 means it's a transceiver request. So next is the sequence number. So sequence number it incremental. So but the four octets are reserved for this. 4 bytes are reserved for this common length. So common status, then sequence number, then the system ID. This system ID is provided by the operator who will provide you the ESME, and password also provided by them. So these are also 16 max 16 16 bytes, then max 9 bytes, 9 octets. So here system type. What kind of identifies the ESME system request to bind a transceiver? So what kind of system type it is defined here. Then the interface version. What version of SMPP you are using? SMPP has multiple versions are there for SMPP. Like here, if you check the SMPP version, I have used 3.4. So other versions are also available, 3.4 plus 5. So whichever version you are using, because the version, depending on the version, the things have changed. The message structure changes. So here you have to mention the interface version. Then the address on address NPI and address range. So these are the addresses provided by the operator. So if it is not applicable, in that case you can set it to null. So these values you can set it to null uh, if the address is not known. So the overall structure is like this. So you have to fill all these values and you have to send to SMPP server a bind request. So once the bind request is sent, so this is just a sequence of bytes. So you have to fill an array with this sequence of bytes or a structure with a sequence of bytes, and you have to transmit over a TCP connection to the SMPP server. So once you send the bind request, then you will expect some bind response. So what is the format of the bind response? So it's again the same thing only. So 4 bytes are reserved for command length. 4 bytes are reserved for command ID. Again, the command ID is the same. If you are sending a bind transmitter request, you will receive a bind transmitter response. So this is a response. Command status. What is the status? It is success or fail. This is what you will get in command status. Then the sequence number and the system ID that you pass to the in transmitter request. And this is one. tag length value parameter you will get, which is interface version. This you will get as a tag length and parameter. So this is an optional value. It may receive, you may not receive this in response. So overall, if you check in a real example of this, so this is what I have discussed so far. So here you can see the length 4 bytes, then these 4 bytes type of message. This is a transmitter request, then the sequence number, then system ID, password, version of the system, type of number. If these are known, you will fill, else you can keep it null. So here it is keep it null or unknown. So the request is sent. So now I am expecting some response here. So response also again length operation bind transceiver response. Then result is okay or fail. So here I have got okay. So sequence number, same sequence number, then system ID, what you have passed in the bind transmitter request. So this is very easy thing. So just fill the bytes and expect some response. So as an application developer, you can easily develop similar application and bind your ESME client with the ESME server. So now let's look at next point. Now this is one outbound request. So when SMSC will request an outbound to an ESME, so what is the message structure? So here is the message structure. So it will send a command length first 4 bytes command length. Next 4 bytes it will send the outbound request type. So it's outbound request. So then it will send a command status outbound PDU, then sequence number it will send, then system ID and password it will send. So as I mentioned in earlier, so outbound request looks like this. This outbound will be sent to the ESME. So once ESME will verify that the outbound request with the message type as outbound request and the username and password matches with the ESMEs, then it will request for a bind receiver. So this bind receiver request how to initiate you already learned in my learned below. So this is how it works. So this is how outbind works. So now once the bind request is successful, after that you can send receive SMSs like submit SM, or you can get message with deliver SM. So those messages, how those messages are established and how those messages works, this I will be discussing in my next video. So here once you have completed sending receiving SMSs, so now you want to close the connection with the SMPP server. So to close the connection with the SMPP server, you have to send an unbind request. So how the unbind request looks like. So again the unbind request has similar pattern only. The PDU that is used is like first byte is common for all. First 4 bytes are command length, then command ID, command status, and sequence number. So this sequence number is incremental. So here also you have to mention the command type as unbind request. So these are specific values. So you have to learn how the values. You have to know the value of those specific request. So you just fill those 4 bytes with those values and you send these to SMPP server, and you will get the this will send the unbind request, and this is the unbind response. So again, unbind response also has same structure only. So once you receive the unbind response, you will close your TCP connection with the server. So friends, this is all about SMPP bind and unbind request. So So next videos I will be discussing more about the other messages like SMPP, submit SM, deliver SM, how to receive and send SMSs, how the submit SM works, what are the various parameters of submit SM. So all these things I will be discussing in details in my next video. So friends, if you like this video, please don't forget to share, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. So I just so here is my channel. So I have uploaded more videos related to SIP, other telecom protocols like SS7. I have uploaded few more videos related to SS7, then few more videos related to SIP, and these are very interesting videos. If you like, if you want to view these videos, you can check all these videos as well related to WebRTC, client server programming, WebRTC videos. So, so friends, please like, share, and view and subscribe to my channel to get latest updates. And next videos I will be uploading SMPP and SMSC related videos. I will be uploading here in SS7 this portion. So SS7 part I will be uploading here in next my few of next videos where I will be discussing about the GSM, SSCP, TCAP. So all these things I will be uploading here, and SMPP related videos I will be uploading here. So keep checking and subscribe to my channel. Thanks friends. Thanks for watching.